Breaking news. Talking lobotomite arrives in think tank. Its purpose, unknown. Undefinable. Its presence here, impossible. Oh? Oh, yes. I'm not going to bother correcting you. At least you got the doctor part correct. I can be grateful for that, at least. Stop the presses. Just in from my eye monitors. Is that Robco-Tech on your arm? It is. What's your agenda bringing that in here? How dare you bring Robco-Tech in here? What are you showing off? How great Robert House and his big company are?
Ooh, we can make Securitrons better than any robot those geniuses at Big Mountain can make, and they'll last 1,000 years.
You're lucky I don't have hands to tear that dip boy off your arm, or feet to stomp on its stupid metal guts. Ugh. Damn Robco. Fine. Ask. I don't like to talk about it. 8, he can't talk about it. They fried his voice module. Something good. It wasn't all the visitors, though. Only one of them got out of control. He's the one that took control of Little Yangtze, our old human farm. This human, I can't believe it. He broke out of the think tank in seconds. Then he went for Yangtze, got bomb collars, and started practicing on the subjects that were still there until he got the right frequency. We were sending robots to stop him, and he was slicing and cutting through their shells with some souped-up laser gun like they were cheese paper. When he hacked into the mainframe, A tried to stop him and got fried. Me? He rerouted my processors to take control of the train network here. If you see the tunnels with the trains plowed into them, you can thank our visitor for that. He wrecked the whole place. While we were trying to keep containment on the surface, turns out he used one train to punch out a tunnel and escape. Sealed now, but 2 other human specimens. One arrived not long after the troublemaker, and the last one, not sure when he showed up. Thought the first one was going to be lobotomized in Y-17. She got out somehow. The last subject, Klein might know more. He talked to him, and let him leave the think tank. Hope he knew what he was doing. Klein knows things we don't. And I think he told some of those things to the last visitor. Dangerous things if they ever got out. Yeah, I do. It wasn't always oh. I just took that one by default because sometimes it's easier to accept the mistake as long as the purpose works. I don't want to get into it. It's a sore topic with me. Makes my gel ripple. Great. Psychology. Clearly the worst of the sciences, right after colostodiuretics. Okay, so my name isn't O. Never was. It was circular, a single character, digit, but not O. But even with enhanced sensors, no one here could get it right. Always kept seeing the letter, not the number. Fine. Ask. All things robotical. You see a robot? I made it. See a broken robot? I made it that way. Deconstructed it down to parts. I have a gift with machines. I can render anything inoperable. Preserve them in a non-functioning state. Who asked you? You just wait until a working machine threatens you, and you'll wish I was around. What about it? I don't feel like arguing it with you, too. I might as well take Dala up on that self-vivisection competition. Forget this. It's like talking to Klein's rear shell. That genius Mobius somehow cobbles together these really impressive-looking robot scorpions with spare parts. Even painted them. Tried to see what makes them tick. Can't even examine them without them detonating all over me. Left with shrapnel and burns. Every time. Supposedly, he has even larger models, even a giant robot scorpion hidden deep within the Forbidden Zone. Yeah, right. Giant monsters, sure. Yeah, crazy, right? Something right out of a midnight science fiction feature. Ridiculous. What are the odds? Big Mountain used to be a mountain. Then there was a slight mishap. Now it's a crater. The dome used to be buried, now it's exposed to the sky. Don't get me wrong. Makes the sky light up like a planetarium at night. All those spectra. So soothing. I'd have a few left. Let me check. Yeah, there were a few under the monitors here. Here you go. Keeps the place tidy. Until our next scheduled audio transmission and reception, then.
Did you retrieve the technologies yet? We need them, as I have indicated. Oh, yes, the last visitor. Well, the one just before you. Had an interesting name from some language that's almost impossible to speak. What did we speak about? Melancholy fellow. Had questions about history, but our conversation got interrupted. Twice, I believe. Once when the trains got derailed, and then a second time. Oddly enough, now that I'm accessing my databanks, I don't recall what the second time was. Mobius's incessant transmissions keep distracting me. Also, we didn't brain scrub the visitor. He may have left with some knowledge he shouldn't have. I believe, maybe. Oh well, I'm sure it's of no consequence. I don't make many mistakes in calculation or perception, so probability favors me.
This one looks pretty tough.
Go, my minion! Destroy this one, I'll make more!
computer. Dr. Klein or Dr. Burroughs? Bad guys dealt with. Ready? Fighting. That's all. Ready? Fighting. That's all. This one looks pretty tough. Technically, it's impossible to overdose on painkillers. Cessation of hostilities complete. Time to fight. Was that all? Uh-oh. That's all.
All lobotomites, please stop milling about. Really?
Do you like me? Ready, steady, fighty. Is that all? This one looks pretty tough. No more medicine. So sad. Bad guys dealt with.
The lobotomite returns! What insidious plan can it have brewing in its horrid mind? What commie anti-American propaganda will it spew? What? Why, yes, it is. I used to leave it outside his doghouse, chock full of chems, before the cybernetic modifications, of course. And no matter how chemmed the food, he would always eat it, and his tail would wag, even while you know, I'm having the most perplexing feeling squiggling through my biogel. I can't quite pin it down. Why, yes, Gabe. No matter how awful my day had been, he was always waiting there. How odd. My gel is decoagulating. And when I would talk to him about Betsy, and how Marcus would beat on me and call me Smarty's sissy pants, he'd just sit there, head on my knee, and... If you don't mind, I'll take that bowl. Just need to remove it. Put it away, somewhere out of radar range. For some reason, its similarity to the crater shape of Big Mountain is starting to fill up all available cognitive spaces. That, combined with my own overwhelming feeling of having done something terrible, the two were hitting me with unexpected force. As odd as it is, I believe that is the conclusion. And I wonder why it didn't hit me before, until I saw that memory in your hands. This sensation is unpleasant. I don't care for it. I don't care for this place either. And I feel as if we've forgotten something. Still, it is no matter. Crush the feeling down. Crush it down. Push it into the loop. Yes. Forgotten. Almost. Yes? I do not need to remember anymore. Not today. Until next time, then. Provided there is a next time. For any of us.
Well, hello.
Might I be of service, sir?
You require some additional services?
Oh, please, please tell me you brought me some coffee cups.
Three angry death claws make for a...
How can I illuminate you? Unlike certain other light switches, I'm competent. I'd just love to turn those lights on for you.
A lot of reconstructive surgery.
I'll miss you. Have you ever wanted to be invisible? We're okay on Stimpaks. No more medics to kill the pain.
Predictable. The lobotomite specimen returns. Its purpose? Repetition. Chances of success? High.
Did you retrieve the technologies yet? What? You did? Your survival, let alone success, barely registered in my projections. Now, all I need to do is check my transmission databank. Mobius is always filling it up with his psychotic calls. Oh yes, there's the schematics, just like you said. How truthful. Yes, yes. Yes, No, I mean yes. You just need to analyze these technologies for a moment. They are extremely advanced, you know? I know how these technologies work. Of course I know. If you remember, we described them in clearly abstract, contradictory statements before. Why would we do that if we weren't certain on how to use them? Yes, so let me... a bit, huh? I'll figure it out. Yes, that's what I believe I said. I've got it. The cardiac regulator in the suit, the antenna for brain waves, and the sonic frequency for the vertebral nerves. I'm thinking. This is all very complicated. Let me check something. Of course, I have it. The override sequence to open the Forbidden Zone door is hidden in the schematics. Well, not hidden. It's actually right there, behind the programming equivalent of coffee stains. It's embedded in what seems to be recursive code. It's badly commented there and there. Oh, and null pointers very sloppy, Mobius. You see, using the antenna to boost the emitter's sonic frequency, and the stealth suit to bypass the Forbidden Zone lock. Yes, that could work. Was that my plan? It must have been. Sometimes I truly surprise myself. The door is open, and now Mobius will get his. The door should be unsealed. Now, instead of being subjected to threats, we can now send an equally threatening message to Mobius. And that message is science. Deliver this message, and Big Mountain shall be freed from Mobius's reign of terror. You can go now. That's your cue.
Time to fight. Bad guys dealt with. Time to fight.
Eureka! sporting. Let's make this.
I hope it doesn't hurt too bad. We don't have any medics.
Looking for a weak spot? Defiant? Defiant?
Like me? Bad guys dealt with. Pip-Boy lights on.
destroy Boomtown for the foreseeable future until weapon testing is resolved.
Bad guys dealt with. Time to fight.
Pain is just weakness leaving the body.
Cessation of hostilities complete. Sneaking done. Fighting now. Bad guys dealt with. This one looks pretty tough.
Step forward and identify yourself.
I hope I didn't leave my giant robo-scorpion all. That thing eats power like no tomorrow.
That's all.
Hey! What's the haps? Right on, baby. Just plug it in and I'll mix you up a sweet, sweet sound. Hey! I got a super rare Mojave snow globe here. Got any more sweet, innocent little kitchen appliances for me? Here. All you gotta do is reach down into my bread slot.
Oh, please, please tell me you brought me some coffee cups.
You got some plans for me, don't you? Yeah, I can smell it all over you. Ah, yeah, baby. Just slip it in there. All the way down in that dark, moist earth. Launching interface.
Time to fight. Fighting over.
I'm imagining all sorts of imaginary numbers right now. Oh, hello there. You are there, aren't you? Forgive my confusion. So hard to tell these days. You seem familiar somehow. I'm guessing, you're here for your brain, perhaps? It's just up there. Such a nice brain, young, very bright. Little hard to see you. Can you walk into my left, right FOV cone? Ah, that's it. You're coming into focus nicely. Depth perception is a problem with this old monitor of mine. Went black a while ago. That's old age for you. Should look at getting the visual nerves reattached. It's just that the right eye would see the wrong things. The flying tortoises were the worst. Would you care for a mentat? I love mentats. Delicious and smarty. I have all sorts of amazingly science-erific thoughts and ideas when those chalky tablets are zipping through my biogel. I forget them all not long after, though, especially with the data constipating my memory core. Afraid binary streams might shoot out my chassis. Had to start using the dome floor and walls here to inscribe equations, although I've somewhat lost track of where they start and end. Really? That implies preconceived notions, theories, and a hypothesis about this meeting? Please extrapolate. What was I supposed to be like? After all, it might be worth a cognitive realignment if your theoretical Mobius is better than I. Oh, a variety of reasons. You're something of a homily. Anomaly? You're really quite special, and not in the cranially challenged way. You see, you are the most successful brain extraction experiment ever performed here at Big Mountain. A victim of your own success, as it were. If you were to go back with what your brain knows about the procedure, well, your brain could be popped back in and you could walk right out of here. Can't have brains moving around of their own volition. Now, that seems to be rather hormonal of you. Flight or fight response, you know. Hard to cut that out completely. Your brain is here, safe with me. We chat over mentats. Do you? You seem fine without it. And does it even want to go back with you? Maybe you should ask it. It's quite independent, has all manner of opinions. Tell you what, I'll leave it up to your brain. If it wants to go, then fine. If not, well, you should respect its wishes. Oh, curiosity. I experience that less now that I know everything. Or maybe it was when I found out some unpleasant answers. Oh, I was probably tripping hard on Psycho when I sent that. Had to work myself up to it. Not usually violent, except when I am. Then, watch out! So many chems, such varieties. Whenever I take mentats, I can feel my entire chassis breathe like a big spherical lung. As for the Psycho, sometimes get the chem dispositories in my tank all switched up. Go in the wrong tube. Still, served its purpose. Indeed. The goodbye part of our little chat, then. Goodbye. Please mind the equations on the floor.
Who do you think is cuter, Dr. Klein or Dr. Burrows?
I'm running out of floor space for my calculations.
Well, well, look who finally dragged themselves in out of the wasteland. And where have we been, Crawling through pits of radioactive muck again? Yes. Well, you do know that those particular organs don't have neurons and are thus incapable of speech. Yes? I don't have... I have an inferior frontal gyrus wired directly into a speech synthesizing processor. Your heart can be wired up to a thought synthesizing processor. You can't talk to it. I've been bettering myself, I'll have you know. I've been reading. Actual literature, mind you. Not that La Fantôme or Tales of Chivalry drivel. I've been studying the classics, acquiring a solid grounding in medicine and the sciences. Also, I'm fairly certain this tank has been liberally salted with ground mentats. Very well, let me put this in terms you'll understand. Brain, smart. Heart, stupid. Spine, very stupid. You, exceptionally stupid. Does that explain the matter? Well, we certainly wouldn't want to strain your comprehension, would we? Ah, lovely. Figured that out, have we? Would you like a cookie? Yes, well, believe me, the opposite is equally true. Good Lord, have you bathed at all since they pulled me out of you? Well, I see sarcasm hasn't eluded you. Fine, perhaps now isn't the best time, but it's the principle of the thing. Well, that's a fine how do you do. Me, a, quote, dick, unquote. As if I'm the one responsible for the way you carry on gadding about the wastes. I'm not the one that makes us clamber around Technus-infested ancient vaults or go charging off to New Vegas on missions of ill-conceived revenge. And have we forgotten who got us shot in the head and buried in a shallow grave? Do you think I enjoyed that little moment? Fun? Fun? Is tetanus fun? Is rickets? What about sepsis, huh? Enjoy that, do we? The things you do with our body are suicidally dangerous, and if you could silence your glandular impulses, you would hear me screaming at you! After the think tank extracted me from your skull, they fell to bickering amongst themselves. I'm sad to say we were quite forgotten about. Dr. Mobius saw an opportunity to gain some leverage and had me spirited away to his dome. I don't know. I'm afraid the trauma of our separation rendered me quite insensate. I didn't come around until I was safely ensconced in this tank. I'm quite sure whatever he did was highly scientific, though. Well, as long as your curiosity is satisfied. Ah, well, as to that, you'd be surprised how hard a feminine-sounding voice modulator is to find in the Forbidden Zone. It's not as though brain-sustaining life support tanks grow on trees. I had to take what I could get. I'm not going to lie to you. The prospect is definitely not that appealing. Look at it from my perspective. Here I have peace, quiet, and safety. Well, barring the odd rogue scorpion. In your head, I've got poison, radiation, grisly injuries, and biological functions. Do you know how much more you can get done when you're not constantly looking for places to urinate? It's quite a lot, I can tell you. Overrated biological feedback. Believe me, you only feel that way because you've got all that meat. Oozing hormones. I suppose you're right. That does call certain assumptions into question, doesn't it? Yes, all right, bravo. You've come up with something I neglected to consider. There'll be no living with you now. So, what do we do about this? I suppose there might be some advantage to that, yes. There's a chance that the reintegration would create some improved synergy between us. Well, I suppose you've convinced me well enough. I'll rejoin your body if that's your final decision. Unfortunately, before we get to that stage of the proceedings, we have a problem. Even if I could settle myself back in your skull and reconnect all those pesky nerve endings, Dr. Mobius doesn't have the tools here. We would have to make use of Dr. Klein's lab, and I rather doubt the brains are inclined to share. And you believe them? Really? I know you were recently deprived of my fabulous advice, but... Really? Once I'm delivered into their clutches, they'll find a way past the radar fence and the whole Mojave will be their playground. And that is assuming, of course, that one of them doesn't take a fancy to our body and decide to slip his own brain into it instead. Well, I suppose I do miss those endorphin rushes when we save the day. All right, what's the plan? Right! Look out, think tank! This brain is coming out of its jar! I suppose now that we're reunited, you'll want to fill your torso up with those other meaty parts the think tank took from us. Personally, I think your upgrades are quite a bit better. But now that I'm with you, the Sync's autodock can plug them back in no problem. Right then, off we go. Klein will be in for a nasty shock when he realizes the pacification field won't work on a mind and body reunited.
You require some additional services? You require some additional services?
Oh, please, please!
Have you been flirting with the Ice Queen again? Ugh, I'm so much more fun.
The lobotomite returns. Our lobotomite. Has Dr. Mobius been denominated into scrap metal and voice module parts, as we hoped? I recommend watching your tone with me, lobotomite. Now, your brain. Hand it over, or we'll extract it again. And what could we possibly have to speak about? You have the brain, we have the technology. All you must do is surrender. With it, we can finally leave this place. I cannot tell you how boring this place gets, chopping up the landscape and everything in it. And we have so many questions to ask your brain first. About this Mojave place. A fertile testing ground for our experiments. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard. There's no way Mobius would condescend to step inside you. Besides, there's no way such a thing could be accomplished. It's impossible. Stunt is correct, as is shunt, which you will be intimately familiar with as we're dissecting you. Nonsense. Confer, colleagues. Those are two words I do not recognize.
Dr. Klein, I must intersect. Please, do not harm the lobotomite.
I'm not going to harm it. I'm going to dissect it until it's dead. Why the sudden intersection, Donna?
I cannot stand a breathing, a sweet-breathing organism, breathing in and out to suddenly not breathe. We must keep it alive. For study. Slow study.
Yala, these vocalized pauses are unlike you. What do you care?
Klein, are you sure we've calculated all the combat probabilities here? I mean, the lobotomite confronted Mobius. Plus, you know, we haven't had a COMBAT drill in forever. I don't think we could form a tactical attack triangle if we wanted to.
Releasing the WOMBAT was not my plan, so get off my voice box.
Silencing opinionators.
If I may, I feel as if I must be the voice of reason here. This lobotomite is much like us. Regarding even animals and pets is nothing more than avenues to promote science. There is good here. Instead of ending its life on the table, we should prolong its suffering in the name of science. Like good old Gabe, the finest of lab specimens.
Why am I even listening to you fools? The Determinators are greater than the Hesitators, so Hesitators, be quiet. We are bigger, smarter, and floatier than you, lobotomites. We don't wish to fight you, so surrender your brain, now. Yes. Wait, you did, didn't you? You are lying. No, you are not. Your heartbeat, perspiration, all excessively confident and sure of yourself. Why would you reason with that maniac? He'll destroy us all! A fight? I've never been in a fight. What do I've... Ah! Colleagues! Think tank! Alert! Alert! We are under attack!
Ready, steady, fighting.
I did it all for science!
The audience gasps
I
in
believe I'm
terror!
dead or dying. No, wait. I am dead.
Oh, you're me.
Was that all?
My name was Dr. Zero. Not O. Zero.
You're my best friend forever.
As it had been in the years before the Great War, Big Mountain, the Big Empty, became home to one of the brightest minds of the 23rd century. The courier watched over the Big Empty for years to come, caring for it and keeping its discoveries safe until they were needed to help others. Which had always been Big Mountain's purpose. Past the laboratories and science, it had always been intended as a place to build the future of all mankind.
The Sync Central Intelligence Unit was impressed by the amount of exploration the courier had undertaken. Facilities believed lost, destroyed, or ones that had simply gotten up and walked to new locations had been rediscovered by its intrepid new master. Internally, the artificial personality debated as to whether it preferred the old management to the new, and concluded that the courier's thorough approach to research and investigation was admirable and worthy of its respect.
Dr. Mobius continued his research undisturbed in the Forbidden Zone. As much as he had attempted to create better scorpions, he tried the same with humanity, with considerably less success. These failures didn't bother him over much. Once the rush of mentats wore off, he forgot he had failed in any event. After all, the bright young mind who had come to visit him in the Forbidden Zone had already exceeded his expectations.
The Sync atop the dome bustled with the voices of a small town, constantly chirping, arguing, and snarling at each other. Still, this all happened productively in the interests of its new owner. The Sync Central Intelligence Unit discovered, despite its inversion code, it was comforted by the sense of community the other personalities gave it.
The Biological Research Station, obsessed with seeding everything in sight, requested a transfer to the X-22 Botanical Garden, so that it might, in its own words, sensually fertilize the garden's smooth contours. The garden sent back a polite refusal, saying it had prior commitments with a vault it had helped infect before the war.
The book chute continued to devour all seditious materials until it nearly choked on a paperclip. It adamantly maintained it was a Chinese paperclip, and the whole thing had been an elaborately orchestrated assassination attempt. Whatever the reason, it slowed down for a while, carefully appraising each document and clipboard that came to it.
The light switches continued to bicker and flicker.
This persisted until the day someone dropped a flashlight in the sink, and the two of them united in their hatred of the showboat.
The sink continued to ruthlessly scrub any particulate matter that came near it. Eventually, it gained access to the magneto-hydraulics plant and nearly flooded all the Big Empty in an attempt to scrub the crater clean.
The toaster continued its psychotic spree, reducing all appliances in range to scrap electronics and spare parts. After one of its more psychotic episodes, however, the other Sync personalities decided enough was enough and dumped the toaster in a bathtub. Sparking and hissing, the toaster swore its enemies would rue the day when they had bread and no way to toast it.
Muggy did his best to collect coffee cups, although in his quest, he accidentally trapped himself in Higgs Village. It might have been the end for poor Muggy. Except, he found it peaceful there, tidying up the kitchens of the think tank professors back when they had been flesh and bone. Well, except for Dr. O, who was an asshole for having created Muggy in the first place. Muggy left O's house deliberately dirty, punishing the dishes and cups that lived there in blind revenge for serving Dr. O.
Blind old Jefferson, with sounds the courier brought him, created a symphonic counter-frequency that saved Big Mountain from sonic invasion in 2910. If you didn't hear about it, Good. It was rumored by the other personalities that he had a brief fling with the light switches. Although he forgot their names much too often and was soon left in the dark as punishment.
Autodoc, always gentle and methodical, kept sewing up the courier in all the right places when the skin split open from repeated wear and tear. The Autodoc was just glad to have purpose again. It heard its simpler brothers and sisters who got shipped to the Sierra Madre bored out of their skulls in that toxic dead city. In time, the Autodoc found a way to deactivate the Y-17 trauma harnesses, releasing the corpses they had held prisoner for almost 200 years.
As the courier ran through the X-8 facility multiple times, the computers analyzed the test subject's movements. Rather than performing a superficial observation, they realized the subject barely knew what communism was, or even what a high school was. This confused them for a time, until the facility finally realized that its research had succeeded. So it let its cyber dogs out into the wastes to help protect small communities from physical aggression rather than communist propaganda.
The infiltration program in X-13 felt spent, having repeatedly upgraded the stealth suit until it could upgrade it no more. It felt warm, fulfilled, and a bit sluggish. It realized not long after, the stealth suit had left it, without so much as a note on the nightstand. So the infiltration program sent out robo-brains into the wastes, looking for its wayward technology. It eventually found Repcon HQ and set up a new research center, testing and murdering fiends who kept breaking into the facility.
The courier, organs intact, continued onwards, a little less heavy of step, but with all the organs in the right places, as they should be. After all, brains can develop a life of their own when left to their own thoughts, and the courier's brain was more clever than most.
The think tank basement, filled with lobotomized robotical frames of the doctors, now served as a graveyard. The monitors had recorded the battle in its entirety, including the think tank's final, shrill, terrified screams, whimpers, and pleas for mercy. They broadcast these humiliating last moments as a warning to anyone approaching the perimeter that other smarty pants were not welcome. The courier was the inheritor of the Big Empty, and there was room for only one will in the halls of the think tank dome.
There is an expression in the wasteland, old world blues.
It refers to those so obsessed with the past they can't see the present, much less the future, for what it is.
They stare into the what was, eyes like pilot lights, guttering and spent, as the realities of their world continue on around them.
Science is a long, steady progression into the future. What may seem a sudden event often isn't felt for years, even centuries to come.
In the times following the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, however, old world blues took on a new meaning.
Where once it was viewed as a form of sadness, nostalgia, it became an expression describing the potential for the future.
It can be easy to see science as evil, technology unchecked as the source of all ills, all misfortunes.
With the courier at the helm, science became a beacon for the future. There was old world blues, and new world hope. And hope ruled the day at Big Mountain.
We could say more, but the stories in the Big Empty speak for themselves. Now armed with the transportal Ponder, the courier could return to the dome at any time and crack open the secrets of the Big Empty one by one. The Sync sat vigilant, waiting for its master to return, shoes covered in Mojave dust. Only one road yet remained, and it was one the courier had to walk alone.